All right. As a matter of fact, um, I felt it would be appropriate to discuss the inyan of Simcha just now, even though it's after the Yom Tov, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it before. The last time we spoke was before Rosh Hashanah. um, but I want to talk about Simcha, and I feel that, on the contrary, having experienced it, we have a better chance of being able to understand what that experience is. Because everyone participated in the Simcha. Everyone was dancing and singing, staying up a whole night, sleeping half a day, however you got it. But everyone was in a state of Simcha. Whether we understand what Simcha is or not, but everyone experienced it. Simcha is contagious. When you see others in Simcha, automatically it brings out Simcha in you. So even if we don't know exactly what it is, and we don't have it, so to speak, in our background, we easily mesh into it and join it. There are two points that would be helpful, that would be meaningful to discuss about Simcha. Of course, they're all related. One is, what is the source of Simcha? What is the basis of Simcha? How is it? What kind of reaction is this of a Simcha? And the other is, how do we understand the inyan that it's a mitzvah to be besimcha? A mitzvah is supposed to express something, accomplish something. What is the accomplishment of your experiencing simcha? And the mitzvah in the Torah, the way it's expressed, is precisely that. Vehoyiso ach sameach. You will be completely in simcha. What is this? What kind of experience is this? And what is its meaning? Why is it so significant? The Torah tells us we go through 7 days. Of course, even if we are diligent, we're going to miss out on learning, no question about it. And hopefully we didn't miss out on Zman Krishma, but who knows, maybe some people didn't make it to Lein Krishma in time, which is also a big loss of mitzvah. And yet we say, you should be besimcha. By the way, I have to, of course, qualify that no matter what, we have to be careful to Lein Krishma on time. Krishma, you have to get up quickly, you wash Negelwasser, you say Birchas HaTorah, and then Krishma, you can go back to sleep. But there's no excuse. It shouldn't be construed that I'm saying it's okay to know that you're not going to learn Krishma on time. Krishma has to be learned on time, regardless. It's not a big burden. It's very easy mitzvah to perform, even when you're tired. But nevertheless, mishaps do happen. When you're very tired and you start l'chaim and so forth. And it's all in the name of Simcha. There must be something very, very meaningful in this. The first thing we want to examine and understand, what kind of experience is this Simcha? And what is it based on? Where is it coming from? in our world, meaning in our practical world, a world that seemingly means it appears, it would seem that what is an accomplishment in our world? Only something very concrete, like we discussed the other day. If one goes to work, he gets paid and he has what to eat. If he doesn't go to work and he doesn't get paid, he doesn't have what to eat. In other words, it's a very limited, demanding situation. There is nothing that speaks about greatness, something about greater than the fact, greater than the act itself. In Simcha, the whole act of Simcha itself is a form that is not formalized, that is not limited, that is not precise at all. Even if we sit around and we sing a nigun, a Freilich nigun, and we clap, even at that moment when you're still sitting around, you're also not doing anything precise. You're just sitting and singing the way it comes out, not anything. There is no need, there's no prescription what you should sing and how you should sing it, and how you should clap and how you should react to the situation. Certainly when you get up and dance, dancing is like a haphazard type of thing. There's nothing precise in there at all. There's no prescription of how to do it. Which means, by definition, if we look at an experience of Simcha and compare it to our daily activity, daily life, daily demands, we see one thing very clearly. It's an entirely opposite form of acting, of existence. Whereas a normal activity requires that it should be very clearly defined when you start, when you end, and what you do. Whereas in Simcha, there is no definition at all. Therefore, that itself already tells us that the basis for Simcha, which means the sense that one has in order to be able to experience Simcha, is something that is not contained in his mind, that is not precise, that is not limited. Because if it were limited, then the action would also be limited, would also have a precise description of how it is supposed to be done. We know a klal. A klal means a rule in the Torah. That everything in the Torah, every mitzvah, even though it's a mitzvah of Hashem, and its significance is limitless, and yet every mitzvah has a very precise description of how it is to be done. We put on tefillin. The tefillin have to be exactly in a certain spot on our head, exactly in a certain spot on our hand. And it has to have 4 parshias. If one wants to expand and say, 4 parshias, I'm going to write 17 parshias, I'm going to be mahader. Why do I have to limit in 4 parshias? It costs $1,000. I'll pay $5,000. Put in 17 parshias. It's not a mitzvah. He's ruining the whole thing. And this principle applies absolutely to everything. Every mitzvah in the Torah. I'm sorry?
Love and fear.
I'm sorry?
Love and fear.
I can hear.
Loving Hashem and fearing Hashem is the same thing, right?
Loving Hashem and fearing Hashem is does not express itself in any particular activity. It's a feeling in the heart.
But Simcha is also not expressed.
No, Simcha does express itself. Simcha expresses itself in dancing and singing. The Simcha is based on Shoeva. I'm sorry?
Be constantly in Simcha.
I'm sorry?
You have to be always in Simcha when you learn, and when you, like, you have to be serve Hashem b'Simcha. Doesn't mean necessarily in.
Right. If there's Hashem b'Simcha, then the Simcha is in the background. We'll touch on that too. But we're talking about the mitzvah of being b'Simcha, per se. This is a mitzvah. The Simcha of Simcha B'Yasha'eva is a mitzvah all unto itself.
I see.
Okay, I'm good you clarified that. We're talking about the mitzvah of Simcha. Simcha B'Yasha'eva, in the Beis HaMikdash, they danced throughout the day and throughout the night. They didn't go to sleep. They were big chassidim, the Tanoim, that danced in Simcha B'Yasha'eva. The Gemara tells us that they describing when they were doing Simcha B'Yasha'eva, they slept by leaning on each other's shoulders. And the way it seems, it seems from the description that they didn't even stop as the wheel of the walking in the dance went on. They would lean on each other's shoulders so that they would continue to walk and doze off a little bit. This is how they performed the Simcha. And this was the great Tanoim and Amiroim, the Amiroim born in times of Mikdash, and that means that they took away all that time from learning and they danced. And the Gemara says even more than that. The Gemara says that only the greatest Chachomim were in the dance itself. All other people were standing on the side and observing them. Were standing on the side and observing them. But who actually participated in the dance itself were the greatest Tanoim.
The thing that you mentioned once here in the issue, you told us that about the two older Hasidim would stand up and dance, and everybody would stay and watch in the Fabregan, and they would dance and dance and dance. And
right, there was an instance like that, yeah. So, having recognized this, and particularly that we are just now fresh from that experience, we know that the consciousness, so to speak, the sense that is the background for Simcha. One cannot say, I'm going to be b'Simcha, just like one says, I'm going to sit down and learn so I know more Torah, or I understand something. He does not define for himself what it is that he seeks to accomplish and to gain from the Simcha. Simcha is almost a state of being. He's involved in something, but he doesn't precisely define what it is that he's involved in, what it is that he's doing. Which tells us that the basis of this Simcha is a recognition that goes beyond our capacity, our ability to define. And because we reached a recognition of something beyond our capacity to define, our reaction is also undefined. we would like to understand this. What is it that we recognize? And what gives us this great elevation? We know that on a daily basis, on a continuous basis, as we discussed many times, from the moment one wakes up, he recognizes, he immediately is conscious and sensitive to the fact that he woke up because Hashem returned his neshama to him, and he saw Hashem rejuvenated the world. In other words, the presence of Hashem and Hashem's action and support is there all the time. But even though that everything is dependent all the time on Hashem's support, the Pasuk says, the Torah says, "V'yirachachu Hashem Elokecha b'chol asher ta'aseh." Hashem will bless you with success in all that you will do. How does this translate in the practice? Even though it's Hashem who sends us the bracha, and all our success depends on this bracha, nevertheless, if we would choose to say that since Hashem is the one who gives me all the support, therefore I'm just going to sit and wait for it to happen, and I don't have to do anything, it won't happen. It'll happen only if I do. If I learn Torah, then Hashem will give me the koyach and help me that I should actually understand it and know it. But if I don't make an effort to learn, then I won't know it, regardless of the fact that Hashem wants me to know it. Regardless of the fact that it's a mitzvah and I want to know it, but if I don't actually do it, it's not going to happen. And the bracha comes only after the effort. The bracha is that first you accomplish everything that you can on your own, and then if you did everything you can, then there's Hashem's bracha, and it grows and it becomes deepened and more significant than you ever dreamt. But you have to do everything that you can. Nothing comes on its own. There's no freebies on a daily basis. Let me explain this for a second. We have to learn. Learning means that you have to really work very, very hard with your mind. You have to discipline yourself to know that has to be a certain time, and you have to discipline yourself to concentrate on what you're doing and sit on one place and do what you have to do. After that you have exhausted, so to speak, all your abilities, then Hashem sends you a bracha. And there is a bracha that's called mamash a bracha in learning, a success in learning, that goes beyond the effort. What happened? What does it mean it goes beyond the effort? Does that mean that you know that which you never learned? Anything that you never learned, you will not know. No malach is going to come and tell you that which you never learned. But what happens is that which you learned, you understand way beyond the level of your normal degree of understanding. Your mind opens up and you see a depth and you see meaning that you would never have seen or found on your own. So there is a bracha. But the bracha comes after that you do the work. so that our recognition of the presence of Hashem and Hashem's participation, taking part and being with us in our activities, comes through a limited funnel, to a limited conduit. And the limited conduit is our actions and our activities. To the extent what we put in, to that extent we get the bracha. Yes, you had a question. What question? You forgot what the question.
I'm gonna forget.
Huh?
I'm gonna forget.
So?
You're talking about you put in effort, and then the bracha comes, and then you get an enjoyment, loyalty. I have a problem in understanding, or how much, what exactly is effort? Like, I mean, sometimes I think I'm putting an effort in, but it's like you wanna do as much as you can for Hashem, but it gets to a point you can never do enough. So when you put in an effort in learning, it's kind of the same sort of concept. You cannot put enough effort into it. You could always do more. So how much is enough to get a bracha? Or how much is just enough?
Any effort gets a bracha. And of all people, you know that your effort has been rewarded with a bracha. You didn't become a beglanten yet, but you're on your way there.
Right. It's just, I don't know if it's just the human ego or what it is. It just seems I guess we're one with Hashem, because like we can never do enough for Hashem, so we can never do enough for ourselves. We always want more.
Well, sure, there's no saying ever that I've done, and I cannot do anymore. But if you did, see, effort also grows with us, which means that if I have to exercise discipline, for instance, I don't reach the highest level of discipline right away. It takes time. So that every day the degree of discipline that I have now today, this is the maximum I can do today. Tomorrow, after having experienced today, tomorrow I'll be able to do more. So if you did today what you can do today, that's your effort. And it's rewarded with success. You can be sure of that.
I don't know, I just got a problem with the wall right now. It's just getting to...
My dear friend, I have a problem with Gemara too.
I wish I had your problem. In that respect, I can say that I wish I'd had someone else's problem also. There are people who don't have my level of problem. So we're all limited. We're all struggling and trying to get further out. We never reach the end. But we understand the point. So we all recognize that whatever our efforts are, we also recognize that we are in a sort of a partnership with Hashem. We do ours, and then there is a special enlightening, special brightness that comes up. That's something which we never expected.
All of a sudden we turn around and we are really, it's a different story. I remember in yeshiva, when I was in yeshiva, there was a chaver of mine, very close friend of mine, Rabbi Wrightport. I don't know if you heard of him. He's a Rav here in Borough Park.
Yeah.
And he's a very big lum. He's a very big lum. And I was away from yeshiva. I went to Montreal. He used to sit and learn day and night. In yeshiva, he used to sit and learn. Whenever he went to the 770, he was sitting there. And I was away for a year. I was in Montreal. I came back. I went over to speak to him because we were very close friends. And all of a sudden, the man, wherever you turn, he knows.
He what?
He knows.
The man?
The man.
Oh.
Wherever you turn, says me, ask me anything in the Rambam, any place. I said, what? He said, ask me any place. One year. I don't mean that in this year he learned the Rambam, but whatever, the change happened to him in him suddenly. All of a sudden, everything stopped and everything was clear. He was, he labored very, very hard, but he broke through. The point which I'm saying is, there is definitely a reward. In other words, every one of us, after you learn, we're never satisfied, like you say. We're never satisfied. I wish I would be here, I would be there. But if you turn around and you compare yourself to a half a year ago, and you say, what happened? A half a year ago, these things didn't make any sense to me. And now I understand them. Now they are so clear. I don't understand why I didn't understand them before. This doesn't happen by itself. There's something happened. There's a real growth. So Hashem is with us all the time. But as I said, it's b'chol asher ta'aseh. It depends on our input, on our effort. So that our sense of encouragement and sense of confidence is not 100% because it depends on what I'm going to put in. It's not going to come by itself. I can't go out and start dancing because I have to start learning. It's not going to come by itself. Then there is certain moments. There's a certain moment in the year, or certain moments in the year, where Hashem's presence and Hashem's blessing and Hashem's involvement with us expresses itself in such a way that it is independent on our actions. Like Sukkot, for instance. Sukkot, you learned, I'm sure, a little bit here, a little bit there. Sukkah is representative of the heavenly cloud that hovered over the Jewish people in the desert. Huh?
Nobody told me that.
Sorry?
No?
Nobody told me that. Maybe they did, but I don't remember.
No, it's okay, so I'm telling you now.
It's supposed to be tense, no? Something?
Huh?
For tense.
The Anane HaKovet. There are many different meaning in the points in the Gemara, but in Shulchan brings down also the Anane HaKovet that covered the Eden in the Midbar. The Anane HaKovet, this is represented in the Sukkah. The Anane HaKovet, not just like a covering. A covering is not something that is limited to a certain particular action, but it simply represents and says that Hashem surrounds you from all sides. That's what the mitzvah of Sukkah is. Mitzvah of Sukkah is unique, literally, among all other mitzvahs. But every other mitzvah is limited to one limb, one part of the person or another. You put on tefillin on your head, on your hand. You give tzedakah with your hand. You daven with your mouth. You learn Torah with your mouth and your brain. Everything has a certain parts of the body are involved in the mitzvah, except for sukkah. Sukkah is where you go in completely into the sukkah, and Hashem surrounds us completely from all sides. But this signifies, what this means, is that during the Yomim Tovim, during the holiday, we be cognizant. That's what a holiday is. Let's take a step away for a second and think about what is the concept of a holiday. Let's take an example of a vacation. Everybody knows what a vacation is. A vacation is a person works a certain duration of time for a company. And because he worked for a certain duration of time, day in, day out, he deserves a vacation. So the company, this is common in today's setup. The company gives him whatever, a week or 2 weeks. They pay him for this week anyway, and he's free. He can go and do whatever he wants. Why? What's behind it? What's the concept? The concept is that throughout the year he was compensated for his exact work. But after having accumulated a certain amount of service, he reaches a point where he deserves a recognition that is beyond the limit of his service. Because every day he was getting paid. But now he reaches a point where there's a recognition that is beyond the limit of his service. It's like, you deserve it because of your dedication, because you were truthful and you served us well and you were reliable, not for a precise activity. This is just a general gesture on the part of the company that says you deserve to be recognized beyond your effort. So what happens then? He flies off and he goes to wherever corner of the world he wants to. He goes wherever he wants, and he does whatever he wants. Relaxes and enjoys himself. And all this enjoyment is representative of the appreciation that the company has for his services. Okay. In similar manner, there is a holiday. A holiday is a celebration that, yes, throughout the year we do mitzvahs and we work and we do our obligations as Yidden. Then there are certain moments where Hashem says, now you rejoice, not you get a reward. I relate to you not on the basis of your limited actions, but on the basis of just you and I. Let us just be together not not limited to any particular action. Just let us be together directly, not through the conduit of actions, not in certain work and reward for it. This is what it says, that in Sukkot, you know that there is 7 days of Sukkot, and then there is Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day. So the Gemara says, what is this Shmini Atzeres? What kind of yontif is this? We had 7 days already. And Shmini Atzeres, the Gemara says, is a separate yontif all unto itself. It's not part of Sukkot. Like we don't sit in the Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres. We do sit in the Sukkot with Ara Bracha, but because of a suffix. But basically, Shmini Atzeres is not supposed to, you don't have to sit in the Sukkot. You're not supposed to sit in the Sukkot. It's a separate yontif.
Not supposed to?
Shmini Atzeres per se, you're not supposed to sit in the Sukkah. The reason we sit in the Sukkah is because Mitzad Golus, we have a Sfeike de Yema, we have the suffix, just like we have 2 days.
Okay.
So that's why it extends into Shmini Atzeres. That's why we sit in the Sukkah with Ara Bracha.
Okay.
Okay, but basically Shmini Atzeres is not part of Sukkot. It's a separate yontif. When we daven, we don't say Chag HaSukkah, we say Shmini Atzeres, it's a different yontif. The Gemara says, what is Shmini Atzeres? The Gemara says that it's a boshel, a melech. This is to be illustrated like a melech who had all his children come to visit him in his palace. And among the children, there were children, and there were also other people who are not as close to him. And he had a big feast for 7 days. And everybody was accommodated with during the 7 days. At the end of the 7 days, when everybody was leaving, the Melech turned to his children, to his son, and he says, when everybody leaves, I want you to stay an extra day, just to be you alone with me. And that's what Shmini Atzeres is.
I heard from someone that 7 is like normal and 8 is like above the. It's over like a.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's. I'm sorry.
Why don't we have that with the other 7 days? Why don't we have that with Hashem with the other 7 days?
The other 7 days pertains not only to us, but pertains to the whole world. As you see in the Korbanos, if you would, it pertains to the whole world. But the last day pertains just to the Yid. So what is the message? The message is that during the Yomim Tovim, like Sukkot, the relationship between the Yid and Hashem is not on a limited basis. You do and I reward. But rather it is a direct, we are on vacation, so to speak. We are then just rejoicing with in the presence of the King. It is no longer dependent or limited, and as a compensation to the particular action. What is the sense that one has under these circumstances? In the case of on a daily routine, when a person works and he gets compensated, even though the compensation also has a bracha from the Meibushin, that makes it grow and be successful. Nevertheless, he does not have the sense, the feeling of being elevated, lifted beyond his own limits. It all depends on his effort. Whatever I put in, that's what I get out. With a little blessing that he should be successful. So when a person is is in an unlimited budget, so to speak, he is careful and he can't be rejoicing. Because he has to be careful what he does and where and how he acts, and that his action will bring the reward that he is looking for. Whereas when you talk about when you are and you have a direct relationship with the king, in the direct relationship with the king, there the people are elevated to the level of the king himself. They rejoice with the king himself. What is a king? One principle of a king is that he is not limited by anything. Whatever he wants, that happens. And it's not limited to any particular activity. So that even at that time, and during the Yom Tov, they sense that now Hashem says that now you are out, you're beyond, you're above the limits of the daily requirements. Where are you? What is your state? That I relate to you not on the basis of any particular activity. I relate to you directly. When they have the sense that there is a direct relationship to the Meib, to Hashem, then you don't sense any limits. You go out of the sense that it's that you have a limited resource, limited possibilities. The possibilities are limitless. When a person is elevated to a state where he feels that feels the concept of limitlessness, that brings him to Simcha. Let me now go a little further, not just to have words, limitlessness, and understand what that means. What does it mean, limitlessness? All in context of what we discussed. Even during the normal daily activity, let's again take the analogy of a person working at a job. And he gets compensated for his work. He knows that he must go to work on time and do his work properly, and then he'll be compensated. Now let us imagine if a person would think that this job that he has and this work that he does, this is the only possibility for him to work and get sustenance. The only possibility. If he should Chazashon lose this job, this is the end of the world for him. If a person thought that way, it wouldn't be possible for him to do it. The pressure of it would be so immense, and it would so depress him that he wouldn't be able to do his work. Even under normal circumstances that he's dependent on the job, yes, he's dedicated, he's honest and so forth, but still he has to have a certain sense of freedom, certain sense of, yes, this is important, but there is a big world here. And if I lose this job, I don't want to lose it, but there'll be something else to replace it with. It's not the end of the world. It's not like a person is walking on a rope, on a tightrope, and if he misses a swing, he ends up in the whitewater rapids. He is walking on solid ground, and if he makes a mistake, so he can always correct the mistake. It may not be so pleasant, but he'll correct the mistake. A person has to have the sense that he can correct a mistake. A person has to have the sense that there is a broader path than the one he's walking on. This is a necessity even on a normal daily activity. When it comes to Yom Tov, when it comes to Zman Simcha Hussein, what is Zman Simcha Hussein? Yom Tov Sukkos, there are 3 periods, 3 Yom Tovim basically that we have. Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuos, and Sukkos. Each one of these 3 corresponds to a certain period of the year that has to do with the production of produce, production of food. The reason it has to do with that because Yom Tovim all correspond to the simplest and the lowest level, and then there is the higher and higher level. Pesach is the time of seeding your field. So you rejoice in the fact that you have a field and you have accomplished the task of planting it. Shavuos is the time when the field begins to, when they begin to ripen and you start cutting your produce. Sukkot is the time when the produce has already been gathered into the house. When the produce has been gathered into the house, that's when you have the final and the greatest joy, because now it's already in the house. It's already there. Now you don't have to worry about anything. It's there already. Pesach, there is still a worry whether it's going to grow. Shavuos, there is still a worry and concern, is it going to dry properly or is it going to have some rot in the field? Shavuos, Sukkot, there is no more worry left. Now you can relax and you know you have your sustenance. So this is on the simplest level of sustenance. That the person, he brought this produce into their house and he has sustenance. But what does this signify in terms of our relationship with Hashem? That Sukkot is when we recognize that Hashem has sent His bracha to the point where you really have nothing to worry about. And now we rejoice just because Hashem is there. It's beyond anything that we need to do. Everything has been done. That means that at that moment there is the sense that you not only that the narrow path that you walk, if you fall off you can always correct it, but you're now in the broad. You're not walking on the narrow path anymore. You have the complete open open truth supporting you. Hashem Himself. The concept of Simcha is based on the sense that there is a presence and that there is an experience that is not limited to my understanding, not limited to my feeling, not limited to my ability. It is something which is just there in support and in granting everything that I need, without any limit. It's not in compensation to anything that I do. It's just there. This is the concept. This is the source of Simcha. Completely, what's called, without any concern, without any worry. And not the reason that I don't have worry is not because I trust my ability that I'm going to work and I'm going to be able to accomplish. The reason I have no worry is because I completely relegated my worries to Hashem, and He's taking it on Himself. I don't have to, He's taking care of the whole thing. That's a Yom Tov. This is the source of Simcha. Even though you did not work a whole year, I mean, you worked very hard in learning, but you didn't work for sustenance. But your work during the year, your effort in learning, whatever your effort is, when it comes to Sukkot, to Yom Tov, the reward for your effort is there on this highest level. If there was no effort before, then when it comes to Sukkot, in other words, if one was not involved in hard work, he did not prepare himself for the Yom Tov, so he was always on vacation. He doesn't feel the elevation of Sukkot. When does one feel the elevation of Sukkot? When does one recognize it? When he recognizes that, yes, a year has passed, and I put in this effort. And now I can rejoice with the granting, with the blessing that came as a result. The blessing that is beyond the effort itself. Essentially, this is the sense that brings around Simcha. Simcha requires that one has a sense that he has absolutely no worries, no concerns whatsoever. Not only he doesn't have any worries and concerns, but moreover, not that he doesn't have worries because he's taking care of himself, but he is being taken care of. That brings Simcha. That there is no possibility of anything going wrong. That brings Simcha. Okay, I just want to introduce it. And the one more thing we have to discuss. What is it? I'm saying it's all coming from the same point. From this we'll understand what is the significance and what's so meaningful about this mitzvah. Okay, so I rejoice. Why spend so much time, day in, day out, night in, night out, and dance? What is the significance of it? Now we'll be able to understand it, yes.
You say that real simple is to have no worries. Hashem's looking after everything. You're talking about Hashem's looking, of course Hashem's looking after everything all the time, but with the point you're making, when you're saying not have any worries because Hashem's looking after everything, just around the holiday, around the Yom Tov time, or throughout the whole year?
on a Yom Tov time. Throughout the whole year, that aspect is also true, but it's hidden. Throughout the whole year, that comes through our activities. But on Yom Tov, it's direct. On Yom Tov, there is no activities. We're not supposed to work. We're not supposed to take care of anything. Do you understand the difference? As I said, now we'll come to understand how is it justified that we should actually spend 7 days, 8 days, 9 days in dancing. After all, we have things to do. At the moment, the minimum, we have to sit and learn. We don't have other things to do. So we'll understand that this activity of dancing supersedes all other activities. Because if learning says that there is a Rebbeinu Shalom, there's Hashem who gave us a mitzvah, and I'm sitting and learning and doing his mitzvah, so I'm actually expressing my connection to Hashem through learning. On Sukkot, through dancing, I'm expressing my connection to Hashem in an infinitely greater way. Because through any other activity, I'm expressing my connection to Hashem in the sense that I'm doing my thing and Hashem sends his bracha into what I do. Whereas in Simcha, I'm expressing my connection to Hashem that I don't have to do anything. Hashem is the one who takes care of everything. So my connection to Hashem is entire, is complete and direct. And that's Simcha on Sukkot. And as I said, I'm sure you all experienced it without perhaps being able to put it into kind of a logical form and kind of words. But the idea of Simcha means that I don't have to express my connection to Hashem through any particular activity. Wherever I do, wherever I go, it's the same connection. Because it's not through my activities, it's through the fact that Hashem is there with me. It's a direct connect. Hashem's presence is entirely revealed all over, wherever I go, wherever I go. In simple terms, it means that I have absolutely no concerns in the world. I have absolutely no worries in the world. And the reason I don't have concerns, the reason I don't have worries, because they're all taken care of. Who is taking care of it? Not me. It's taken care of automatically. Because the world that Hashem created, it's His world. And He's taking care of it. I don't have to worry, be concerned about it. And that brings out true rejoicing, true Simcha. The object of the Yomim Tovim is not just that we should experience a Simcha during the Yom Tov. The object of the Yom Tovim is that our experience of the Simcha of the Yom Tov should give us the impetus. You know what impetus? Should propel us, should give us the inspiration and the sense that when we go back into our world, into our daily activities, we remember and we know of that experience. And we still know that that essentially, even though now we go back to our daily activities and now it is dependent on our daily work, but really there is that total guarantee behind us that makes sure that we should be successful. That makes sure that we have the koiches and the ability to do what we have to do. But now it comes through a more hidden pathway. Now it is by giving us the koiches, giving us the health, and the ability to overcome obstacles and so forth. But we have support behind us all the time. The Yom Tov gives us this encouragement, this sense. We carry the Yom Tov throughout the year. Just as the morning we start with davening. Why do we start the morning with davening?
9:30.
We start the day with davening, we start with davening, because we know that the success of the whole day depends on Hashem. And the davening expresses that, and we recognize this union. And from this we get the strength to go into the rest of the day and to carry through our duties. From the davening, what's called the rishima. The rishima means the impression. Excuse me. The impression of the davening remains with us throughout the day and gives us the strength to carry through the day. The same. This is on a daily basis. Then there is a Shabbos on a weekly basis. Then there's a Rosh Chodesh on a monthly basis, and then there is the holidays on for the period for on a yearly basis. It gives us the strength to carry through. This is why on the holiday we go all out to experience this union in a way that it is totally incomplete. We go through 7, 8, 9 days that we don't have anything except for Simcha. This Simcha remains with us, the impression and the experience will remain with us throughout the year. So that whenever, first of all, it gives us encouragement to our activities of the whole year. But if Chas v'Sholom throughout the year, any kind of negative thoughts come in and they start disturbing us, we remember back and we say, I know that this is not true. Whatever appears to be is just an appearance. But in fact, the world and my little world is supported by Hashem. And ultimately, He's going to carry me through. He's going to give me the koiches, the ability to see through it. This is essentially the union of Simcha of Yom Tov. So now, even though it's after the Yom Tov, but I said an experience is something that stays with you. You should know that it should stay with you, and this is what's going to carry you in Mitzvah for the rest of the year, and give you all the success and the blessing that you need, and the koiches, the stamina, the physical stamina, the spiritual stamina, the encouragement to go and labor at it. And after you labor at it, you have no idea what kind of success, what kind of blessing comes with it. We wake up one morning and we don't recognize ourselves. And the next morning we still don't recognize ourselves, because it goes on indefinitely. They speak to a school teacher. School teacher teaches little children, first graders, second graders, third graders. And they say, there is nothing like the first grade. Nothing like the first grade. You take little babies, and by the end of the year, they turn around, they're little people. They're not babies anymore. They become menchelach. You know what menchelach means? real human beings. When they came in, they were playing with their little blocks. And now they're reading, they're listening to a story, they're telling a story. All of a sudden, the whole thing changed. Hadn't they gone to school, to class, they would still be playing with blocks or with pebbles. And the second grade teacher says, there's nothing like the second grade. I took them at the level where they were just beginning to read, and now they're learning Chumash. Look at that, it's a totally different world. And the third grader says, there's nothing like the third grade. Every year, there is such a dramatic change. And it happens totally, almost unconsciously, unawares, unobtrusively. You labor, you do, and all of a sudden, boom, a whole tree grows up. Almost by itself. This is what's happening to us here too. This is why it is important. Not very important, it is all important. It is imperative that we should remember the Simcha from Yom Tov, carry it with us throughout the year. Even if Chas v'Sholom we have a worry, we have some kind of a problem, we have to be reassured that this problem is going to be resolved. Never doubt that it's going to be resolved. It doesn't mean that you ignore it, but to doubt that it's going to be resolved is folly. Because ultimately, we all reach Sukkot, and we all reach the point of true rejoicing. So have a joyous year and a successful year.
Amen.
And a labor year.
Amen.